NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. AT&T is apologizing for a massive outage that's affecting customers across the country, but they're not saying why it happened. NBC's Brian Chung.
Is it something that could be hacking related? Is it something that could be weather related, satellite related? We don't know at the moment. We're trying to get more information.
In a statement, they say they're working to urgently fix the problem. In the meantime, the carrier urges customers to use Wi-Fi calling until service is restored. So far, there is no indication that a cyber attack was the cause of the outage. New Yorkers are reacting after a district attorney in Arizona is refusing to send a murder suspect back to New York. More from Natalie Migliore.
Maricopa District Attorney Rachel Mitchell says New York's bail laws are too lax on violent crime.
They'll let him go and he'll kill somebody else, right? And then they'll lock him up here.
They definitely lack on crime, especially on violent crime. I totally agree with that.
Rod Al-Mansouri was arrested in Arizona where he allegedly stabbed 2 women, later indicating he was connected to the bludgeoning of a 38-year-old woman at a Soho hotel in Manhattan. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg called Mitchell's decision a political game.
A new poll has good news for former President Trump and bad news for the current commander-in-chief. Mitch Evans with details.
The Emerson College polling, the Hill survey of Georgia voters, found that Donald Trump leads Joe Biden 48% to 42% in this coming November's presidential election, while 11% were seen as undecided. The Peach State survey was conducted by interviewing 1,000 registered voters. And average annual percentage rates on credit cards are at record highs, according to an analysis by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Average APR on credit cards was nearly 23% in 2023, compared to close to 13% in 2013. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
And now, the voices of KCAA with an exciting announcement.
Want to hear NBC News or KCAA anywhere you go? Well, now there's an app for that.
KCAA is celebrating 25 years and our silver anniversary with a brand new app.
The new KCAA app is now available on your smart device, cell phone, in your car, or any place.
Just search KCAA on Google Play or in the Apple Store.
One touch and you can listen on your car radio, Bluetooth device, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay.
Catch the KCAA buzz in your earbuds or on the streets, celebrating 25 years of talk, news, and excellence with our new KCAA app.
Just do it and download it. KCAA, celebrating 25 years.
It's time to shop in the cool, relaxed comfort of the Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands, conveniently located on the I-10 freeway between the Alabama and Tennessee exits. Bring the kids too and watch them play in the only indoor fun center, High Five Indoor Playground, where parents are welcomed on the playground. Birthday celebrations are encouraged, so make plans for some great fun at the mall. More reasons why the Tri-City Center is called the Mall with a Heart.
Lauren Espy, Century 21 Masters, reminds listeners that a family pet is a year-round commitment. Proper care includes regular checkups, vaccinations, dental care, spays, and neuters, along with flea, tick, and heartworm preventions. This reminder is brought to you by Lauren Espy, Century 21 Masters, reminding everybody pets are people too. Lauren from Century 21 Masters goes the extra mile to keep all her clients happy. Put her 15 years of experience to work for you and call her today at 951-623-6955. That's 951-623-6955. That's Lauren Espy, Century 21 Masters, on the air because they care.
What would you do if you had a broken bone? You'd go to the doctor and use your insurance, right? Well, what would you do if you have a serious problem with drugs and alcohol? Most people do nothing until it's way too late. Your insurance can help you get clean and sober with the assistance of a place like the Detox and Treatment Helpline. Many times, addiction treatment is fully covered. So why not use your insurance to treat your addiction problem just like you would if you had a broken bone? And with the Family Medical Leave Act, you're allowed to take time off by law, and your employer doesn't need to know the reason. So there are 2 good reasons. You've got insurance you can use for your addiction problem, and with the Family Medical Leave Act, it's completely confidential. Call now, 800-398-7414. That's 800-398-7414. 7414.
It's time to shop in the cool, relaxed comfort of the Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands, conveniently located on the I-10 freeway between the Alabama and Tennessee exits. Bring the kids too and watch them play in the only
we can see it.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome, you're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, TLive, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, and more. And we have been coming now to you for 619 consecutive weeks, me, myself, and I, with topics and shows that will help balance out all the bad news out there with some good news and good people. If you missed the fabulous interview with Rich Little, legendary icon, first real comedian who, you know, was with the greats, Dean Martin, George Burns, all of that, then please do go free subscribe on my YouTube TV channel, and you'll get that show and more, all 1,112, I think we are at now. And I also have fabulous special series all week just for you to break it up from just me gabbing and having some good-looking people, definitely. And the first one is in front of you here. He's my newest co-host on Strength Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorne. Good morning, everybody.
Welcome back to the studio, James. All right. And I am, let's see. You know what? I'm going to do this just in case people are tuning in for the first time. They don't know much about you. Instead of reading your bio, I'm going to do something that I love to do when I interview people on the carpet, which is I don't have an answering machine. I have a questioning machine. And when you call me, it says, who are you and what do you want? So, James Hawthorne, who are you and what do you want?
That's great. I love that. I haven't been asked that in a while. I got to get my butt back to the East Coast so I can hear that more often. I am a not so young man with a young heart. I really try to embody the idea of, you know, growing older, which is inevitable, but not necessarily up. Growing up in the right ways, trying to hold on to childlike enthusiasm without being childish. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I want to make an impact in people's lives that's positive and hopefully leave the world a little better than when I got here. Doing that through the things that I love to do, because that's the ultimate life hack, when you can make a living doing what you love to do. So that, you know, is personal training, health and fitness, and of course, entertainment, communication, using my gift of gab and my ears. By the way, 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them proportionally. I'm still working on that.
Well, that's wonderful. I think that's a very accurate description of you. And those who don't know, I actually met James years and years and years ago. His co-founder of Flix, I think it's Flix? Was it
Flix for Change?
Flix for Change. It was a film festival highlighting a lot of really great films that tackled social opportunities for change. And of course, I was invited to the carpet to cover it. And that's where I first met James. And then fast forward maybe half a decade or more, bumped into him at a post gig party. And lo and behold, my Friday co-host, you all know her, Alon Carter, She's the daughter of Otis Williams, the founder of the Temptations. Her son Trace is my honorary nephew. He's a musical, hasn't fallen far from his grandpa's musical tree. His agent, Pierre, who's also been on this show, super entertaining himself. He's had quite the colorful life. He is also representing James. And so that's how we came full circle. And next thing you know, he is my co-host on Straight Talk. So there's your introduction, and we're going to jump into breakfast, which is a discipline or a good life habit that I do on this show. We start every day with 8 specific gratitudes on the top of the bun and 8 things you like about yourself, appreciations on the bottom of the bun, because I like it on the bottom. And we take a bite of my gratitude sandwich. So go ahead, James. What are you grateful for today?
You know, sometimes you're grateful for things that you don't always get because absence makes the heart grow fonder, I guess. So I'm grateful for a good night's sleep because last night I didn't get one. And I woke up this morning going, man, that's really special when you wake up feeling fully refreshed. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so without giving the topic away, let's just say that some of the conversation might move from I love you to achoo. So bear with me if that happens. But yes, one thing I'm grateful for is a good night's sleep. Woke myself up a lot with some coughing last night. So I'm grateful for really good pharmaceuticals, cough medicine, honey, tea, and lemon, and all the things that help you get that good night's sleep when you're getting over a little cold.
Fantastic. I will also ditto that. I got a great night's sleep. And it does remind me of times in my past when I was going through the very difficult divorce. Sleep was, where I could find relief. But the more I wanted to sleep, I couldn't sleep because of all the stuff going in my head. So I am super grateful that I have really, for the past more than a dozen years, have no problem falling asleep, have no problem staying asleep. And for that, I'm truly grateful. Yeah. What else?
I'm grateful for the community in my apartment building. My friend of mine is going skiing with his sister in Colorado. His roommate can't watch the dog, and my dog and his dog are great friends. And so I'm going to take his dog for a few days, and that means that Tux, my dog, and Gambino are going to be very tired for the next 3 days, which means shorter walks for Daddy. So no complaints here.
That's great.
I'm just grateful that we have each other's backs and that we can do that sort of thing and find a little community in a city that sometimes can feel a little too busy to really let people in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll stay on your theme. I have a grand dog son. His name is Pablo, and he's a Frenchie, and I love him, and I missed him since he moved back up with his dad into my daughter's place there now, both up in San Francisco. But I say that because his girlfriend also moved. Her name is Lola. But it was funny. I got in the elevator of my community building, and I had Pablo, and there was another puppy dog who was another breed. His name was Picasso. So I'm in the elevator with Pablo Picasso. I will never forget that. It is so funny. So I think that wraps up. We've got a lot of grateful for people and for dogs on that one. Let's go to the bottom of the bun, which is what do you appreciate about yourself? It's my BS belief system that good mental health starts with a foundation of self-care, self-love, self-soothing, so that you don't have to have antenna up going looking for who likes me. And with social media, that's literally these days. If you know that you're 88% fabulous and 12% of the time you're not, it's a lot easier to go through life and stay happy 88% of the time, which is the goal of mine. And my mission is to help do that. So I appreciate my ability to be lovable. I was told yesterday, I started crying. I was expressing appreciation to a friend of mine, and he made the list yesterday, my accountant, who I've known for like a quarter of a century now. And he's uncomfortable. He's in that generation that's not that effusive, right? About I love you, speaking of the topic. And I just told him that I appreciated it. And I got emotional, right? From the gratitude. He's functioned kind of like my dad. And, you know, he said, no, no, no. He goes, you're so easy to love. And I was just so touched. So I'm owning my lovability today. What do you like about yourself, James?
All of the things I thought of today have to do with with moderation and things that I no longer am, or things that I've learned to corral in, believe it or not. My first one is I learned yesterday that I really don't get starstruck anymore, and I'm grateful for that, because when you meet somebody that you consider to be like an idol or a hero in your field, I was fortunate enough to be invited to a screening of American Fiction. Brilliant movie. Speaking of socially conscious films, timely topic about the ludicrousness and hypocrisy about the way that we talk about race. And it's just hilarious and poignant and timely. I got to meet, it was a Q&A after with the cast, and Sterling K. Brown, who played, Randall Pearson on This Is Us, made me cry, made me laugh in that, and had a really great role in this. And I believe he also went to my same acting school. And when I found that out, I was floored. And just a chance to get to tell him what his work meant to me, and in particular, the moment in that movie that meant the most to me. I normally would be nervous and sort of stumbling with my words because of my respect for such an individual. But I just cared so much about, I could tell he's the kind of person that truly listens and really takes everything in. And so I just really wanted to not miss my chance to tell another person what their commitment to craft meant to me. And by focusing on that, maybe that helped me not be so starstruck. But I was pleased that I was able to have a very normal chat with him after about that. And it was very fulfilling to get to tell a acting hero of mine what their work means to me, in terms of illuminating our human condition and elevating it.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool. I actually have interviewed him on the carpet, and he's actually a connection from Agape. He's a member of my International Spiritual Center, and he's a lover of my big brother, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. So another 1 degree of separation there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. I appreciate also my ability to, and that's tagging with you. I guess I'm standing on your answers today, or sitting on them. I am also not starstruck, not necessarily because of your reasoning. I just don't know who they are. And I can remember when I first met Sterling on the carpet. I didn't have a TV. I wasn't watching This Is Us. I had no idea who he was. So I almost passed on the opportunity to interview him because I had no clue. But I also do know that it is one of the reasons why I am successful is that I am not that, who they are. Like, I appreciate their skill in acting. And I'm going to slip this in. If you haven't watched The Color Purple, I was bowled over, and I just, Tara's on my feed, so I gave her the compliment on a comment. So she's a nominee for Woman of the Year for Time. So I am so delighted that I get to meet legends through my work, and have that ability to see who they really are. They're human, right? And I think sometimes when we put them on the pedestal is when the trouble starts, and
Right.
then they feel the pressure and all of that, and then drugs and alcohol and suicide and all of that I've talked about before. So ditto,
Right.
ditto.
Don't let other people's opinions of you affect your need to please and deliver. I think, I always joke with people, the most important thing is that you like the person that's looking back at you and you brush your teeth in the morning. You have to live up to your standards for yourself and your values. And I think that's an easy thing to say, but how many people really sit down and carve those out, what those are? I think it's important to keep those front of mind as opposed to back of mind. I think sometimes we take a reactive posture towards values. In other words, when somebody upsets us, we're reminded that, oh, I have this value or this principle when we let somebody come in and upset us. But keeping it front of mind, I think, lets you live that life of intention, which law of attraction could start to work for you, and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we do this exercise where we talk about gratitude on the top and appreciation on the bottom. And it's funny to hear you say how important it is because you didn't want to do it at the beginning.
I did. Well, there's some mornings when I wake up and if I didn't get a good night's sleep, it's a little cranky, feeling a little negative. And, this morning it was, once I got it going, really hot shower, got those first sips of coffee in, let my dog bathe my face like he does every morning. I was like, okay, all right. Started to get a little bit easier. Said, all right, life is good. Life's good. Forget the whatever's up here. Your thoughts don't matter. Your thoughts aren't you. So, remember the good stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That I'm sure I've told you this saying is one of my favorite sayings. It's an African American saying, but it is anonymous. I still don't know who to credit, but it did come from that culture. And it says, when there is no enemy within, no one on the outside can hurt you.
Yes.
So I love that. And that's one of the reasons why we do the gratitude sandwich. So thank you for joining us for breakfast. You just took a bite of my gratitude sandwich. I promise you that if you do this life discipline or good life habit for the next 28 consecutive days, it will become a great habit, and you will sandwich your day in the most positive way. Thanks for joining us for breakfast. And now it is time for the topic of the day. James, take it away.
The 3 most dangerous words in the dating world. I love you. If that doesn't put fear in the pit of your stomach, I'm kidding. They're the most beautiful words. We pay $20 a movie to go watch people say it and make us cry. But when it comes to whether we say it, and oh boy, is it complicated, confusing, nerve-wracking. So today we're going to talk about when to say it, when not to say it, and more. We're going to have a discussion about it because I certainly don't have the answers. We're going to talk about when it means the most and when it's meaningless. So we're going to dive into those 3 little words that carry big, big weight.
Awesome. And if you've just tuned in, it is Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show in our very special regular Thursday series called Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorne.
Here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and of course, Show Central, my YouTube TV channel that houses all 1,112 shows. So please do free subscribe, and you'll get an alert every weekday morning to tune in on this station that leaves no listener behind and is the home to Asia and Oprah. I love you. I just come to say I love you. And I don't like the fact that if I say I love you for the first time, you don't say I love you back, which happened incredibly, like so many. I didn't see that as a red flag when I was dating my husband. And I should have, shooting on myself, because there is a significance to those 3 words when you are in a relationship and you want a relationship where if you do this and say, I love you, the person comes and say, I love you. If they say, I don't love you yet, run. That's my experience with those 3 words.
Yes, I mean, maybe, or sometimes you can, in my case, my mistake, I'm going to own it. Let's take a bite of our accountability sandwich this morning, right? It sounds like what we're doing right now. I sometimes, when I was younger, and I came out kind of late. So in a way, I felt like I was making up for lost time when I started dating guys, right? I think I would say it too soon. I would get caught up in the infatuation of the honeymoon phase and maybe say it too soon. So in that case, if they don't say it back, sure, you want to hear it. It would be a lovely affirmation. But if those words were uttered at an inappropriate time or too soon, well, that person doesn't owe you anything. They could be like, "Whoa, isn't that a little soon?" Or they just go, "Oh yeah, well, that's great." So I definitely made that mistake when I was younger, and that's, I think, one thing that made me want to talk about this today. When is the right time? And obviously, it's when you really feel it. But when you feel love rather than infatuation. And as we talked about in previous shows, love isn't a feeling, it's a practice. Which made me think about like this idea of your partner's making eggs for you in the morning. You've been together for, I don't know, let's call it 6 months. Reasonable enough amount of time where you're past the honeymoon phase and you're, doing things together, waking up together, spending the night, all of that. And they're just making eggs. And you look to them and you go, I love you. I think that sometimes that's the best time, because when you're in the throes of like an intimate moment, or maybe there's physical intimacy,
When you're
it's not as
bumping
pure. It's not as pure, those three words. Or if you say it because they're going through a tough time, like, oh, they just found out that their, father's sick in the hospital or something, and you say, it's okay, honey, I love you. Like, you're doing it to serve the purpose of comforting. But when you mean it in the most pure and traditional sense, maybe the right time to say it is when they're just making eggs or taking out the trash. And not because they're taking out the trash isn't short, it saves you the work, but you know what I mean. In those little in-between moments that what are what ultimately fill like a 30 or 40 or 50-year marriage. Just a thought.
Yeah, I totally get that. I love my bonus parents, Dolores and Graham. They're 91, 94, been married 72 years, and still to this day, mom's in a rehab right now, and he'll look over and say, Mama, you look so beautiful today. Like 72 years later, like, come on. And I just Googled it because, I love to use my assistant Google. If you feel the urge to confess your love to your partner, once you've acknowledged those feelings for yourself, there's no need to wait a set length of time. Don't worry if they don't respond immediately. Love takes a different route for everyone, but expressing genuine feelings can often strengthen a relationship. So that's an interesting. Let me look. On average,
Hold on, let's hold on that first one for a minute, if you don't mind,
okay.
Dr. Marissa. I think that first one addresses your statement about, feeling the need to run if there's not reciprocity. And that brings great comfort, because I agree with, I could feel like, yeah, I know what that feels like. That's an unpleasant feeling. But what you just read to me makes so much sense. It rings true in my tuning fork that love takes a unique path for every individual. And I think we have to give people grace and space to do it on their own, because to me, more valuable than reciprocity is authenticity. And when they say it, when they're ready, oh man, then it hits so sweet, instead of a reflexive, I love you too.
Yeah, I think my response came from 6 times of saying it and no reciprocity. So that I'm going to qualify that. And I totally agree with you that if you feel like saying I love you, don't let the fact that you're not sure if they're going to say it back is going to happen. But I really want to look at this next one here before I close out the share. On average, men say I love you 107 days or 3.5 months into a new relationship. The researchers from Arbertay University in Dundee, I don't know where that is. In contrast, women tend to say those 3 words after 122 days, which is kind of against what my BS belief system was that women say it before men. Interesting, right? This is a study. Let me click on this. It's a UK study. Let's see. Oh, interesting. So this was last year. Wow. Okay. I didn't know they did research on that, but I think that's kind of cool, don't you?
Well, did they do a deeper dive as to, maybe understanding some of the reasons for that? were they able to determine scientifically some reasons or at least
26
hypotheses?
Yeah, 26.2% of the 2,000 British respondents said they told their other half they loved them within the first 3 to 4 months of the relationships. A fifth of the respondents said they confessed their feelings after just 1 to 2 months. 19.4 said I love you between 5 or 6. 1 in 10 people said I love you within 1 to 3 weeks. So that's not sooner. Story continues. Let's see if there's any background with that. Men were also found to be, okay, let me see if I can answer your question in here. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. I'll have to do more research later and come back to you on that. But
that could be, we could end up having a follow-up topic for another show based on what we find from our Googling today.
And guess who's here? It is a last call with Troy Pacelli, and I think your guest tonight is my co-host, as the rumor has it. And Troy has been in a relationship, in a marriage. I think it was 31 years. So I don't know.
Don't get that one wrong, Troy.
Yeah, that raw data is interesting, but I'll bet there's a lot of environmental factors. How many have a history of being hurt and therefore reticent to confess feelings? I think you're absolutely correct. We've talked about that actually, I think when Troy was my guest co-host. So yeah, I get bonus points with Netta right now because I was accurate and you weren't. So
he just lost track of time. You know, time flies when you're having fun. He didn't realize it had been 31 years.
Yeah, you're defending him. So you get like kudos tonight on the show as his
tomorrow
guest.
night. Tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow night. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Got one right and one wrong. But yeah, that's our topic today is when to say I love you in a relationship and maybe when not to. I do want you to define, though, what you mean, because I think that's also a variable. What does I love you signify?
Yes.
And maybe it might be a 100% personal thing, and so there's no answer to that. But I do think there's probably a little, what do you call those?
Universal objectivity. I think there's part of that is universally objective that, 99 out of 100 people would say, oh yeah, that's definitely a sign of loving somebody and would be appropriate to say those words and not other words that mean something else. I want to just touch on, I want to answer that because I definitely have thoughts on it, but I want to come back to the data you shared. To me, I question whether women say it 5 days later than men on average based on this study, because perhaps saying I love you, maybe we view it simplistically as a move, making a move, such as asking the person out is a move. And even though we've come a long way and there's a lot more, equality, I still, from talking to a lot of my straight friends and things, there's still a lot of women that are waiting on the man to ask them out and make that move. So I wonder if maybe saying I love you is a move that maybe the women are sometimes waiting for the men to make. To Troy's point, maybe there's issues there with hurt and wanting to be a little bit more cautious than maybe a man, might be. This is going to get me into a lot of trouble, but my experience has been sometimes men are better at keeping their feelings from upsetting them as much. We might feel as deeply, but our defense mechanisms are really good to not let those things, come in and overwhelm us because we've been conditioned to not cry, to not do that. Whereas women are allowed to let those feelings run through. The intensity of them can be overwhelming at times. And so the consequences of an unreciprocated I love you, might feel more dangerous to a woman than a man. I don't know. I'm not saying this is the way it is, but I have my observations thus far would lead me to believe that maybe it's a contributing factor to the data we just revealed.
Could be, definitely could be. I'm actually thinking of something that's tangential. I just have to get it off. You know, I've started dating, and
Yes.
this is the perfect show to sort of have that running. So now what's happening? And something that I'm noticing that's a pattern when I'm, so you swipe, and like, no, 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 and then you see one, and it's like, oh, okay, and then yes, and then you have that opening question on the level that you answer. What's your perfect first date, or where's some place you haven't gone yet? You answer that, and then it is great when there's you know, like it's nice when they say you have a beautiful smile, right? Or I like your style, or something that is complimentary. But I have noticed that some men like go from the opening question to, and I'll answer, I want to go to see the aurora borealis and polar bears at the same time. That's my answer. And then and then he comes back with, I want to I want to go somewhere where I can lock my lips on yours. And I'm like, how do we go from like that's like way too like what is it that I mean, unless all they want to do, and I look at the, when they say, something short term, that's what they, or something casual. Like I usually don't, because I'm not there to, have one hot night kind of thing. And I told you last week, or maybe it was along of the pilot who didn't even have an opening question. It's like, I want you to wrap your legs around me, like second comment. And
That's
so
a
this,
different kind of move, If
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
I love you is making a move, that's a different kind of move.
Exactly. So I guess it doesn't really relate to the topic, but I did want to, before I forgot, the whole why that's definitely a sign that all they're looking for is a physical relationship, correct? Like that's I love you in the heat of the moment. I love you.
Right, possibly. And there's a difference between I love you and I want to make love to you. And by the way, I'm even going to go so far as to say I think I
That's
want
not
to.
making love. That's not making love.
No, exactly. So that I
That's
mean, but even if you are making love in a sensual, sensitive, sweet way, I still think that's a misnomer because I think having sex can be done in a loving way, and frankly, should be for it to be the most special, right? I mean, most of the time, outside of kink play and things like that that get people excited and off. But when you're with a partner, you can have sex in a loving way. But I don't think saying like I want to make love to you, I almost feel like that cheapens love. I feel like sex is sex. It's a human primal urge and instinct that we can do in a loving way. But I think to get back to your question of what does it mean to say I love you, I would say it certainly means more than I'm infatuated with you and I like you, and it's on us to know the difference. My error when I was younger and making up for lost time when I, got out there into dating guys. And we also talked about how love is a practice. I think it's loving the things about people that they would never think to put on their own dating profile. It's when you have spent enough time with somebody and gotten to know them in a deep enough way where you see things about them and like those things that maybe they don't even know about themselves. The things that make them unique and special to you that other people, they just don't quite have that it factor. And infatuation can put somebody on your mind all the time. But love, I think, is when you're talking about something entirely different, but you're reminded of this quality that your partner has. It's so unique and special, and that warms your heart. And when it's something where you think about, because of how I feel about this person, I will sacrifice for them when they are in pain, when they are in need. I, out of the blue, will think about things I can do to elevate them and lift them up and plan a great surprise. I think when your feelings of infatuation turn to thoughts of how can I practice these feelings and turn them into deeds, you know, I think then it's fair to say I love you in that way that 99 out of 100 people would say, yeah, that's right. That's what I love you really means.
Now you've mentioned it twice about sort of making up for lost time and when you realized that you were wanting to date men. So I've never asked you these questions before, and tell me to stop, but just out of curiosity now, when did you come out, and did you ever date women before you dated men? If that's okay to ask, since we're doing straight talk.
Sure. Yeah. No. I came out when I was 22. My first sexual experience was when I was 16, with a woman, and I dated a little bit in high school, college, but not a lot. Because it's
And
not
those
where
were
my head
women?
and heart were, huh?
And those were women?
Yes. Yeah.
All
So
women.
I didn't have any dating experience until I was maybe 22. And then when I moved to my first job after college, it didn't feel like a very open environment. So I don't want to say like I went back in the closet or anything like that, but I certainly wasn't quick to go and date and explore the scene in Denver where I was living at the time. Probably took about a year before I was like, all right, well, you know this about yourself, so get out there. So I would say when I was, 23, 23 and a half, I really started exploring that, and I feel like that's kind of late because most people start dating,
Yes.
in high school or middle school.
Yeah.
But for me, it was an exercise in futility because I don't think I was allowing myself to be fully authentic and accepting of the feelings I was having at the time,
Yeah, it is late. I mean, if you
Yeah.
think about, for dating, I was late as well. My first experience was in college, but it was more, I think, more a reflection of the religion and how I saw myself as unattractive. But uh, I'm curious if were you attracted to those women, or was it more of a peer pressure thing to ask women out, and that you knew at that point you were gay, or you didn't really know you were gay until later, and then bisexual is something that I need to learn about because I'm not well versed in that. So I'm just curious if that ever went across.
Sure.
We're kind of going off topic. I apologize, but this seems we've never really talked about this. When you came out, when you first became my co-host, that was not shared, and then you did maybe three shows ago. So
Right, yeah.
I've always wanted to sort of because you are my co-host, and
Yeah,
we
well,
get
I'm
to
happy to let the audience get to know me and my journey
Yeah.
a little bit better.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of parts to that question.
Okay.
I would say when I was dating, like I said, I wasn't dating much. It was more, I guess with women, it was more like a hookup culture, being in a big state school, university, and being in a fraternity and all of that. So I would say I probably did it just out of societal expectation and also exploration. Wanted to be like, well, let's do this thing. Let's go find out where I really stand. Because obviously I was having thoughts, feelings, fantasies, for men at that time. So I almost had to kind of prove it to myself, like, well, let's go. There's only one way to know for sure, right? So it was a combination, I think, of expectation and also exploration, societal expectation and then exploration. I don't know if I knew I was gay, but I did own that I definitely had fantasies and thoughts, and feelings towards that. I thought, well, maybe it's like a kink or a fetish or something, as I learned from Googling, right, going online, because I didn't identify with this stereotype of some of the stereotypes of the way that maybe gay men behave and their interests and things like that. I still don't to a large degree. So as a young man, I was like, well, maybe it's not what I am, but maybe it's something that I'm interested in from like a kink fetish standpoint. But the more women I was with, the more it became clear to me that that was not the case. And
So you didn't have those feelings.
Correct.
Okay.
just going to the physical side of things, I knew that I wasn't barking up the right tree when I was having ED at the age of 23. I'm like, that's not, it's like, come on. I'm not that interested. I'm not that into you. Was what became very clear to me. I said, all right, enough's enough. So I finally, came out senior year in college, and it became a very apparent.
Wow, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that, being authentic and vulnerable and intimate, which is what we're all about here on Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
your co-host, James Hawthorne, your late blooming co-host, James Hawthorne.
Yes, absolutely. And the topic today is when or how or what to the 3 words of I love you. And let's just catch up here with Troy, who is in the stream, co-captain of my cashew gallery. And there's a lot of vulnerability in saying I love you to open yourself up to the possibility of a response like, oh no, that's not what I'm in here for, literally in here for, sorry. And that's a great point. It is, and that's probably what my biggest challenge is going to be as I start dating, is being vulnerable, definitely on a personal side. And then to Troy, I love you means your happiness and even your life is more important to me than my own. And that's what you were saying before, Troy. James, around that point where you care enough about that person to put their needs in front of yours. And here, James, I actually mentioned it already, Troy, but you want me to say that James is going to be on your show tonight or tomorrow night, which is called Last Call with Troy Pacelli. He has his own show on YouTube channel. So
we'll be doing a little Mythbusters on popular health and fitness topics going into my wheelhouse of personal training and fitness. So for those of you who are interested in checking that out, that's what we'll be diving into.
Yeah, great. And I am okay. So going back to I love you, and if you do say, okay, one, I'm still surprised at the BS belief system of mine that says usually it's the woman that says I love you first. I mean, that's how it's depicted too in rom-coms and things like that. It's usually the woman who says I love you first, or finds those feelings of forever, or hopes for those feelings of forever. So I'm still like kind of stuck on that one.
Well, you know what? We were talking, I think you can't talk about love without talking about fear, yin and yang, darkness and light. And, let me throw out a few notions around love and fear that I think might contribute to that data we found, that men actually say it a little bit sooner, more frequently. One, right, the emotional availability of a woman sometimes is more accessible, greater than that of a guy who has a lot of defense mechanisms and can stuff those feelings down until they have a massive heart attack. But my point being is, because of the intensity of those emotions, maybe there's fear, right, in saying the words, right, that might be more profound for a woman, possibly. A man also might say those words first as a fear move. There might be this idea of almost like a primal sense of possession, and you can even weaponize these beautiful words, I love you, to try to say mine, right? And so it makes me wonder if sometimes those words are misused as a tool to possess, which would come from a sense of fear, from competition from other men,
or
for that woman, or in a homosexual relationship, same thing. If that person's operating from a fear-based paradigm, I love you can be weaponized as a not a fear tactic, but as a remedy for fear and as a tactic to possess that person. So one of the things we asked was when not to say I love you, and I think it's important to do a gut check and check where is this motivation coming from. And I talked about all the examples of, like, those things that go beyond infatuation and thinking about ways that you can practice your love for that person. Troy even going so far as to say their life coming before yours, the feelings for that person and care for them is so strong. That would be when to say it. But on the flip side, if there's anything resembling fear in the equation, it's probably not the right time. It's probably time to do a little therapy, right? And go under the hood and work on that stuff.
Yeah. What's the comment or the question behind the question, or what's the comment or question behind the comment of I love you? What is the motivation for saying I love you? Is there a manipulation in there? So if it is a manipulation, that's definitely not time to say it, or what is in its pure sense. And I'm going to have to put the moose on the table. Just I'm getting a little triggered also when, because of my own growth in the area of love. I mean, for me growing up, love meant it was within my power to make you happy and unhappy. So I have to do things and perform things and achieve things to make you happy, and your happiness was more than my happiness. So the words that were used by you and Troy kind of triggered me, because in my growing and changing and healing myself, to put someone above me is a sure sign that I'm going off the deep end and getting mixed up in codependency again, where I completely lose my sense of self in an effort to try to make you happy. And so if someone says, I love you, I will say, I love you, whether or not I feel that or not, because I want to make you happy. And what I have learned and continue to grow in is the order of things. So in the past, it was you and then everyone else, and then, and then me. So I was like totally on the bottom. And what I've learned, for me, it's got to be, higher power, God, whatever you want to call him. I call him my UPS man, universal power source, who delivers every morning when I pray and meditate. And then me, because my happiness is important, and it is actually more important than me pleasing you and caring for you without taking care of me first. So like the oxygen, right, for me before I put it on you. So I don't know if that's what you were saying. I'm thinking no, but just letting straight talk here, that is kind of hits me that way.
Well, the idea of the reflexive "I love you too," I think is definitely falls into that bucket of when not to say it if you don't really mean it. And we talked at the top of the show about this notion of reciprocity, and I don't know if I agree with this, but it is really interesting idea, so I'm going to share it. This idea that if you're always trying to compromise, and sometimes reciprocity can be a compromise, nobody's all that happy. Sometimes it's best for one person to get exactly what they want without compromise. Other times it's best for the other partner to get exactly what they want. So let's say that one person wants to go to Antarctica and see the penguins and touch an iceberg, and the other person wants to go scuba diving in Belize, like I'm going to do in March. How the hell do you find a compromise between those two? You don't. You say, well, I'm not thrilled about the Antarctica thing, but all right, it'll be an adventure, and I love you, so I'm excited to be your travel companion and see your joy and happiness with this. Isn't that better? So when it comes to the idea of love, if someone says I love you and you're not sure if you're there in that relationship yet, is it okay to just say, that is so touching. I loved everything about being with you so far. I'm still sorting that out for myself. And that might sting to the other person if they're not, maybe, depending on how vulnerable they are, for any variety of factors. But at least when you say it back, if the relationship continues to go well, won't it mean more when it truly comes from that fully authentic, lived in place? Similarly, outside of Christmas or a birthday, if you get like a nice gift for your partner, the other person doesn't go, "Oh my God, I didn't get you anything." Just know it's just okay. They love me. This is an expression of love. And maybe a month later, you'll see something that, oh, my partner's going to love this. And you get it for them. And both are surprises. You're not expecting it. There's no compromise or reciprocity. It's an act of love on its own time. And in that way, isn't that when that matters and means the most?
Yes and no, because isn't it part of knowing you're in a good for you and good for them relationship when the timing is also good? For me, if there is a person who is at that point and the other person is not at that point, that for me is a sign that it's a great match, but not the right time for it. So then the question becomes, how long do you wait for that? And I just don't think it's humanly possible to stay in a relationship because you're focused on, okay, when are they going to say it, and how am I performing, and what do I need to do to get them to say it back? And to me, that's one of the qualifications, or a red flag or green flag, is there's got to be someone in the 8 billion people in this world where you match and then you progress on a similar path with exploring and getting to that I love you point. Now, I'm not saying, it's like a week away, but really, I mean, to progress at that pace, to feel that genuine love, I'm going to stick to my, if you're not like in that vicinity, if you can't say, I care so much about you, or something to that effect, then, maybe that's not the time, or, that's not the match right now. And I'm getting the sign already. We're at 3 minutes. So final word from you, and welcome. We have PJ or Orville Nation in the house. So welcome in there. Troy saying love is like skydiving. You can't dip your foot in, you gotta jump. All right. But I don't like jumping unless I know that there's somewhere that I might land.
So, but that's maybe a product, right, of all of the pain. And my biggest bugaboo now with getting past 6 months in a relationship is I will say anything and be an open book, but to actually give somebody access to my heart is still quite difficult for me. And I think Troy's point is exactly right. I have to learn to take that leap. And what I remind myself of to get me there is, you think about someone in your life, this is dark, but someone in your life dies. How many times do you hear, I wish I told them I love them more? I would much rather say it and not get it back than, if I feel it, not say it at all. And we've talked about the importance, by the way, of compatibility in relationships to make them work. But love is such a deep feeling, so individual, so specific. Even if it's meaning, there's universal objectivity around it. That I'm going to argue with you and say, my final word is going to argue with you. And I know I'm going to say, you got to give people grace and space to do it authentically. And if months go by and you feel like their behavior, since love is a practice, not a feeling, if their behavior isn't in the same ballpark as yours,
all
then
right,
you have
incompatibility. We're in the last 10 seconds. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. You've tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. Now go and come back tomorrow for a long parter on Tempting Conversations. But in the meantime, go and have the best day ever. See you tomorrow. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. AT&T is apologizing for a massive outage that's affecting customers across the country, but they're not saying why it happened. NBC's Brian Chung.
Is it something that could be hacking related? Is it something that could be weather related, satellite related? We don't know at the moment. We're trying to get more information.
In a statement, they say they're working to urgently fix the problem. In the meantime, the carrier urges customers to use Wi-Fi calling until service is restored. So far, there is no indication that a cyber attack was the cause of the outage. New Yorkers are reacting after a district attorney in Arizona is refusing to send a murder suspect back to New York. More from Natalie Migliore.
Maricopa District Attorney Rachel Mitchell says New York's bail laws are too lax on violent crime.
They'll let him go and he'll kill somebody else, right? And then they'll lock him up here.
They definitely lack on crime, especially on violent crime. I totally agree with that.
Rod Al-Mansouri was arrested in Arizona where he allegedly stabbed 2 women, later indicating he was connected to the bludgeoning of a 38-year-old woman at a Soho hotel in Manhattan. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg called Mitchell's decision a political game.
A new poll has good news for former President Trump and bad news for the current commander-in-chief. Mitch Evans with details.
The Emerson College polling, the Hill survey of Georgia voters, found that Donald Trump leads Joe Biden 48% to 42% in this coming November's presidential election, while 11% were seen as undecided. The Peach State survey was conducted by interviewing 1,000 registered voters.
And average annual percentage rates on credit cards are at record highs, according to an analysis by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Average APR on credit cards was nearly 23% in 2023, compared to close to 13% in 2013. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
It's time to shop in the cool, relaxed comfort of the Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands, conveniently located on the I-10 freeway between the Alabama and Tennessee exits. Bring the kids too and watch them play in the only indoor fun center, High Five Indoor Playground, where parents are welcomed on the playground. Birthday celebrations are encouraged, so make plans for some great fun at the mall. More reasons why the Tri-City Center is called the Mall with a Heart.
The election is March 5th. Your ballots are in the mail. Mail them in today. Now there's something to vote for because there's a new marshal in town. Vote Derek Marshall for 23rd Congress by March 5th.
Y'all know we need to change Congress. The current Congress does nothing but fight with each other. They've forgotten why we sent them there, to work. Let's marshal and fix our problems at the border. A comprehensive plan, not political rhetoric and infighting.
Yes, there's a new marshal in town.
The rent is too darn high. Let's marshal in affordable housing and real affordable universal health care. Better union jobs.
The current Congress member put his party first and not people. But there's a new marshal in town.
Our incumbent party politician voted no on the recently passed bipartisan infrastructure bill. He voted no to $3 billion in new funds for our district and no to 35,000 new jobs right here at home. He said, we need a secure border, but now he's rolled it back to play politics. We need to marshal real solutions.
Vote for Derek Marshall by March 5th because we've got to hire a new marshal, Derek Marshall. You can go to DerekMarshallCA.com, paid for by Derek Marshall for Congress.
My name is Derek Marshall, and I approve this message.
Lauren Espy, Century 21 Masters, reminds listeners that a family pet is a year-round commitment. Proper care includes regular checkups, vaccinations, dental care, spays, and neuters, along with flea, tick, and heartworm preventions. This reminder is brought to you by Lauren Espy, Century 21 Masters, reminding everybody pets are people too. Lauren from Century 21 Masters goes the extra mile to keep all her clients happy. Put her 15 years of experience to work for you and call her today at 951-623-6955. That's 951-623-6955. That's Lauren Espy, Century 21 Masters, on the air because they care.
It's time to shop in the cool, relaxed comfort of the Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands, conveniently located on the I-10 freeway between the Alabama and Tennessee exits. Bring the kids too and watch them play in the only indoor fun center, High Five Indoor Playground, where parents are welcomed on the playground. Birthday celebrations are encouraged, so make plans for some great fun at the mall. More reasons why the Tri-City Center is called the Mall with a Heart. KCAA.
Poseidon Valley Tree Service reminds listeners that during these trying times, blood supply levels are critically low, making blood donations essential. Take the time to donate blood today. Visit redcross.org to find a location near you or call 1-800-RED-CROSS and schedule your donation today. This reminder courtesy of Poseidon Valley Tree Service, proudly serving the area with a full range of tree service for over 15 years. For tree trimming and service, mulch installation, and more, call 909-855-0264. That's 909-855-0264. Or visit TreeServiceLakeArrowhead.com. That's Poseidon Valley Tree Service, on the air because they care.
You're listening to the Tahibo Tea Club radio show, hosted by Milan Vukovic, founder of the Tahibo Tea Club.
Welcome to the Tahibo Tea Club radio hour. My name is Milan Vukovic. I'm the founder of the Tahibo Tea Club. Without my father, John Vukovic, there would be no Tahibo Tea Club. My father was diagnosed with colon cancer that had spread to the pancreas in 1998 at the age of 86. He started receiving treatment at the Houston Medical Center, which is the biggest medical center in the world, bigger than Boston. Because the size of the tumor on my father's pancreas was the size of a half a brick, I was told that there wasn't anything they could do for my father and that I needed to put my father's affairs in order since he had about 2 months to live. So, of course, I started planning a funeral. I called our friends and family and told them how grave the situation was and told them that if they wanted to see Dad, they only had a couple of months and they might want to do so now. One of the families that came to pay their last respects to my father came and brought Tahibo tea with them. They said Tahibo tea cured their brother from cancer. I looked at them incredulous as if they were Martians or something. I mean, my dad was getting treated at the Houston Medical Center and no one was saying anything other than to plan a funeral. And these people were telling me that the tea is going to cure my dad? But of course, I was polite to the people since they came to pay their respects. In any event, after they left, I cooked up the tea, and my father figured if he had 2 months to live, what's the difference if he's drinking the tea or water? He has to drink something anyway. So he's drinking the tea, and 2 months later, when they put him on a CAT scan machine, they thought their CAT scan machine was broken because they couldn't find a tumor on his pancreas that used to be the size of a half a brick. So they said to my father, you know, the hospital right next door here at the medical center also has a CAT scan machine. Since you already drank the contrast dye, we'll phone them and you can walk over and they'll take a picture so you don't have to come back and do it all over again next week when we get a machine fixed. So my father walked next door. They took a picture. They couldn't find any cancer either. My father is now 86 years old. He's been cancer-free for over 20 years. And not only is he cancer-free, he's in such good health, he takes care of my garden and even mows my lawn. I mean, I'd be embarrassed about it if he didn't enjoy doing it, and I know it's good for him. Our customers always get a kick out of it when they ask me how my dad's doing, and I tell them as long as he's mowing my lawn, he must be doing pretty good. The tea's certainly been a blessing in my family's life, and God willing, our tea will have the same benefits for you, your family and friends, as it has for mine and so many others. Not a week goes by that someone doesn't call in with a truly miraculous recovery. Bone cancer, brain cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, mesothelioma, leukemia, diabetes, you name it. And not a day goes by that someone doesn't call in with some type of a success, whether it's just beating toenail fungus. Well, toenail fungus may not be imminently life-threatening, but if you have it, you don't like it. The Tahibo tree is an amazing tree. It never gets sick, never gets infected, and never gets infested. As a result, the highest potency Tahibo comes from the inner bark of the tree where the arterial and vein system, called the xylem and the phloem, in the tree reside, which brings nutrients to the rest of the tree. And that's why we only harvest mature trees over 40 years old in the rainforest of Brazil. The harvest method we use is to semi-strip some outer bark to get to the inner bark without cutting down the tree and allowing the tree to heal itself so they can be harvested again. It's also the only tree in the world the fungus doesn't grow on. So as a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. These benefits go a long way to helping our immune system contend with a lot of things it normally has to contend with on a daily basis. Parasites would be something like stomach problems. Inflammation would be something like rheumatoid arthritis. Infection would be any infection from a tooth infection to a bladder infection. Viral would be something like herpes. Bacteria would be something like gum disease or stomach bacteria. And fungus would be something like toenail fungus or candida. But maybe more importantly, what the tea does is build the red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. Our immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer happens to die on oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps regenerate new cells. Everything from the cells in our skin so we look better to the cells in our organs so they function properly. And it can truly be miraculous for somebody fighting a potentially life-threatening disease such as diabetes or cancer. In future programs, we'll discuss Tahibo tea versus AIDS, anemia, arthritis, asthma, bronchitis, other types of cancers, colitis, diabetes, diverticulitis, eczema, fungus, gastritis, gonorrhea, gout, HIV, impotence, infections, leukemia, lupus, Parkinson's, prostatitis, pyorrhea, rheumatism, ringworm, ulcers, virus, and yeast infections. One time a customer asked me, he said, boy, it sounds like the tea helps with everything. It does really help with a lot of different things, but for some things, for example, with the bones, calcium helps with the bones. The Tahibo helps with a lot of different things, but you need some other things also for a healthy diet. I'd like to talk a little about the proper preparation directions for Tahibo tea to be effective. Even though we call it tea, what you're actually preparing when you make it properly is a decoction. A decoction is just a fancy word for what our forefathers used to make when they used to take a root and cook it in order to release its beneficial properties. It's easy, but you don't steep it in hot water like regular leaf tea, but rather cook it like spaghetti. I'll tell you how easy it is to make just so you don't think you'll need a degree in physics, but you don't have to remember any of this because the directions, of course, are on the packages as well as in the literature you automatically receive with your order. You take a pot of water, bring it to a boil. Once the water is boiling, you toss in a tablespoon of tea for every 2 cups of boiling water. Cook it on high for 5 minutes, reduce the heat, and cook on simmer for an additional 15 minutes.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com.
Welcome back to the Tejibo Tea Club radio show. Now, this next segment is a segment with live listener call-ins from previous shows, and you'll be hearing their questions, their successes, and their experiences with Tejibo tea. So please do give us a call and let us know how the tea works for you. Thank you.
Howdy. I'm interested in trying out the tea. Sounds pretty interesting. Keep hearing commercials about it.
Oh, absolutely. 1 pound package of tea will make you a lot of tea. It'll make you 300 8-ounce cups or glasses of tea. So even if you drink it like water, 8 glasses a day, it will still literally last you 5 weeks. Now, in terms of the dosage, I get the question quite a bit, how much tea should I drink? The more the better. But at a minimum, a person wants to drink it regularly, meaning 2-3 glasses a day, which is great for a stewardess who doesn't want to catch a cold but once every 5 or 10 years. On the other hand, if you're trying to get rid of something, let's say you're trying to get rid of an infection or diabetes or something life-threatening like cancer, well, you need to get rid of it before it gets rid of you. So it's a race. At that point, you do need to drink 8 glasses a day or more. One time I got a call from a man in Phoenix, and he says to me, he says, I don't know if you remember speaking to me 4 months ago. He says, but I had prostate cancer that was aggressively metastasizing through my whole body, my bones, everywhere. And you told me to drink a minimum of 8 glasses a day or as much as I could humanly stand. So I literally took that to heart. Now drinking a gallon a day, which is 16 glasses a day, I was drinking so much of your tea that sometimes I was drinking and having to go pee at the same time. But I'll tell you what, in 4 months, I don't have cancer anymore. Now, is there any particular concern that you're looking to address with the tea, or are you just looking to drink the tea for health maintenance?
Yeah, so I'm looking for just more or less just general health. And
you're not getting any younger is what you tell me.
You got it right.
Well, the tea does all of that. The tea builds the red corpuscles in the blood, which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. And our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves, while the immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer happens to die on oxygen. So you don't have to be fighting a life-threatening disease in order to drink the tea. As a matter of fact, in our system, we don't keep track of people's credit cards or debit cards for security purposes. The only thing we keep track of is their name and address because we want to make certain that they get the tea, and then the tracking number that's associated with the shipping. Other than that, we don't keep any other information. So when people do want to reorder, they have to call us and say, I want to buy a pound or 4 pounds or 8 pounds or whatever they want to buy. And this one lady from San Diego calls in, and I happen to be answering the phone, and I look her up, and I notice she'd been a customer like 6-7 years, right? And I says to her, can you tell me the primary reason that you're drinking the tea? She says, yes. She says, with every order, you automatically include informational literature, and in those booklets that you automatically include, when you open it up, where a staple page is like a sandwich, she says, you got about 30 things listed that the tea is good against. And I go, yeah. She said, I don't want to get any of those. I'm 79 years old. I look like I'm 60. I don't take one pill, and that's the one I want to keep it. And I go, well, good for you. God bless you, So our tea, and you'll certainly see the tea working. Like in 2 to 3 days, you're going to start feeling a wellness that you haven't felt before. It's kind of like if all of a sudden you started working out or something like that, except without the pain. When you start to work out, you get the pain. With our tea, you don't get the pain. You just get the beneficial properties of it. So we have a lot of famous athletes that drink our tea because they want faster muscle recovery. A lot of famous movie stars that drink it. A lot of famous singers that drink it. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're in radical shape. They just, want to make sure their skin looks good, that, they don't get sick and all that kind of good stuff. And then, of course, we have a lot of people that drink it because they have serious health ailments. and they drink it because they want to get better, and oftentimes conventional medicine has not helped them. So that's why they drink it. Now, is there anything else on your mind, or any other concerns that you have?
I think the benefits list sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, to not build up lactic acid, it must have some amino acids or something in it, long-chain amino acids.
Yeah,
that help with recovery.
Yeah, it's got 20 active elements in it that work synergistically. And that's actually a problem for the pharmaceutical companies, because they'd have made a drug out of it already, because this tea's been around for over 1,000 years. It's not like it's brand new. They'd have made a drug out of it, but their problem is when they isolate the elements, they don't work properly like they do when they work synergistically. And of course, with our tea, 1 pound making 300 cups, it costs like 16 cents a glass to make. Well, a pharmaceutical company is not going to make something that costs 16 cents a dose. I mean, if anything, they're going to make something that costs $1,600 a dose. Not only that, I mean, these days it's ridiculous. The chemo treatments start at $30,000 and then go upwards of $100,000. It's just absolutely insane. So a lot of times people ask me, well, why don't the pharmaceutical companies use it? I go, seriously? They already got a gold mine. They're pushing chemo on everybody at, $100,000 a trip. They're not going to be able to sell tea for $100,000 a treatment. So that's why. So yeah, it's got a lot of beneficial properties. And what's funny is that people oftentimes will buy the tea for one particular concern that they have, whether they have rheumatoid arthritis or they have an infection or whatever it is that they have. And then they'll call me back and go, oh my God, it also cleared up my toenail fungus. I can't believe it did that. And, then we have to tell them, well, of course, our tea comes from the only tree in the world fungus doesn't grow on. So, of course, it's going to clear up your toenail fungus. That's like the first thing it's going to do. They go, oh my God, I've had it for 15 years, and this is the first time my toes look good. Now my toes are the only beautiful thing on my body. And I go, okay, well, great, So, yeah, so you're absolutely right. I mean, it helps with a lot of different things. And then please stay in touch and give us a call back, because the only way we can help more people is to hear back from your experience.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1 pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com, or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1 pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TaheeboTeaClub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TaheeboTeaClub.com.
Yeah, sounds good, buddy. One thing that came to mind was that you said that pharmaceuticals had a difficult time isolating. I've seen that type of thing before. Like, sometimes I have chronic fatigue or something, and like a shot of espresso does work. You know, it works really well because it's like the caffeine plus the supporting compounds that are in the coffee. Whereas just like isolated caffeine pills or even like chelated caffeine pills to drag out the caffeine, make it last longer, it doesn't work like just a shot of espresso. So the supporting compounds that you would get from the tea, it would be probably highly beneficial and make it actually work, whereas isolated compounds don't have what they need.
No, you're exactly correct. And not only that, you just reminded me, a couple of weeks ago, I was watching the European qualifiers for soccer, and they were playing. Italy was playing a game, and you won't believe this. They had an espresso machine on their bench, and I'm thinking, oh wow, that's really fantastic. You know what I mean? So like at during the breaks or at halftime or whatever, you know, you can just have an espresso if you play for the Italian team. I go, good for them.
It's amazing how well it works. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking myself, pretty smart. I mean, you know, these people are drinking, you know, Gatorade or water or whatever they're drinking, and these guys got shots of espresso. Whoa, man, I want to play for the Italian team. Well, very good. Well, thank you so much for calling in.
Sounds great, man. Will do. I'll keep in touch.
All right. Our tea is absolutely fantastic against infections of all types, from tooth infections to bladder infections. With infections, for example, a tooth infection you can get rid of faster than you can with penicillin. You can get rid of a tooth infection in a week to 10 days. Let's say your mouth is throbbing like you see in the cartoons. You take a drink of the tea, hold it in your mouth for about 2 minutes, and the pain will immediately go away. You can't even get rid of the pain that quickly with a Vicodin. Now, if you stop drinking the tea at that point, you haven't knocked out enough bacteria, so the pain will come back in about 30 minutes. If you take about 1 glass an hour for about 4 hours, you'll completely get rid of the pain, but you still haven't knocked out enough bacteria. So if at that point you stop drinking, the pain will come back in about 3 days. So you need to continuously drink the tea for at least 1 week in order to get rid of the pain that's associated with the bacteria, and get rid of the bacteria, just like when you go to a dentist and they say, here's the penicillin, take 2 a day. Even though you'll feel great in a day, you have to drink it for 10 days or so in order to completely knock out the bacteria. Good morning, listener. You're live on the air with Milan Vukovic. Go ahead, please.
Good day. I actually got some Taheebo tea about, I want to say 3-4 months ago, and I bought 4 pounds of it, kind of a lot for an experiment.
Yep.
But I have a friend that was having she's had some chronic, like joint pain and just physical stuff. She walks with a cane, doesn't stand well and everything.
Right.
So, wanted to introduce her to the tea, but obviously